in. We are recording today's session. So if you'd like to remain off camera and mute, that would be great. And then if you have any questions throughout, please just feel free to pop them in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end. We'll get closer to answering your questions at the end of the webinar. So I will get started. And if everyone can please go on mute if you're not already. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the CIPD People Manage Awards 2024. Today's webinar will be, the objective is to review the entry process, questions you have, and hopefully get everyone's entries submitted on time and have you feeling prepared and successful. So here is the agenda and the overview of what I'll discuss. We'll go through key dates and information, overview of the entry kit, the entry process, judging process, the award ceremony, and then you'll hear from two of our expert judges this year, and we'll go through some of the questions that many of you filled in the registration survey. And if you do have any other questions, again, please put them in the chat box and we'll come to them at the end. And you're also at the end welcome to come off video and mute and ask them in person if you'd like as well. So we recently just launched, and so here's an overview of the deadlines and pricing, which is available online and in your entry kit. So if you haven't downloaded the entry kit, please do so. It is on our website. So the early bird deadline, we have discounted entries until the 21st of March, and this is valid until 11:55 at night, and that's just a fun little time that is due to the back end of our website, so we can't really change that. But after that, entries do increase until from the 22nd of March to the 25th of April. So if you are a member of CIPD, you do get a discounted entry, which is listed, $360 for the early bird and $505 for the final entry. If you're not a CIPD member, not a problem. You are still eligible and welcome to enter the awards. If you are a small business owner, so anyone who's part of a company that is under 250 employees, you do have a discounted price as well.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. We've just started, so if you don't mind just muting yourself, we're going through the entry process, deadlines, the judging process, and we'll come to any questions you have at the end. So we do have two categories that are free of entry. So that is our Michael Kelly Outstanding Student Award. We'll come to that further along. And then we also have our Apprentice Award as well, which is free for entry. If your company is looking at submitting 3 or more entries, please do get in touch with us at cipd.awards@haymarket.com, and we'll send another discount through to you. Here is a quick overview of just the key dates that you might want to populate into your calendar. So again, 25th of April is the final entry deadline. If you do have questions around that entry deadline, again, please feel free to email us at the email I mentioned. The shortlist will be announced in early June. And that will give all of our finalists about a month or so to prepare diaries and make sure that the presentation finalists are available from the assigned date and time to present in the second stage of judging. So that will happen in July. For those who have entered before, we've pushed the panel judging dates about a week earlier just to avoid holidays. So we're really hoping this works with everyone. So panel judging will be between the 2nd and 4th of July. We are unable to move days. However, times, if you email us immediately and just let us know if a time that we've given you for presenting doesn't work, we'll try and accommodate that, but we can't make any promises. And we just do appreciate that we are managing many different judges' schedules for each day and presenter schedules. So we appreciate your patience. And then once the panel judging is done, so we encourage you to purchase your awards tickets as soon as possible. Seating is done first come, first served. So if you want the best seat in the house, it's best to purchase your ticket in advance. And we will have, early bird dinner pricing as well if you'd like a nice dinner price versus the last minute dinner price. And then we have our awards ceremony the 19th of September. That is a Thursday. It's at the JW Marriott Grosvenor House. We'll have a drinks reception, a 3-course dinner, the awards ceremony with a celebrity host, and then there's a post-networking reception as well. And we do have a highlights video on our website if you want to see, if you're new to the PMAs and you'd like to see what is actually included, take a look at the highlights reel. So the entry kit is available for download on the website. You just have to fill in a few contact details, and then you'll get a PDF downloaded. And this basically includes everything you need to know. So all the information from this webinar is included in the entry kit as well. So it has a list of your deadlines, key dates, entry fees, and everything you're going to need to upload and the information you're going to need to include in your entry. So this is kind of just an overview of what is in your entry kit. So we do have rules for entry. We really recommend you reviewing this as there is just some nitty-gritty details about specific criteria that we look for in entries and organizations that are entering. We've also included some hints and tips on what our judges look for and just what a lot of our strongest entries usually provide in their entries. We've also included, as you'll see on the left under your entry, the 3 questions that we ask in each category. So there's no PDF written entry that you need to provide, but it is all written in text fields in the entry platform. So the first question is, why was this initiative necessary? Second question, how did you deliver the initiative? And the third question, how did you measure your success? So these are the 3 questions that are asked in each category. And so we do provide some criteria and further description into what you should include in those questions. We've also provided the category list, which then onto the next page goes into more specific criteria and description into each category and what, if you're not sure about which category to enter, this would be a great way to start and figure out which category is best for you. If you are still have questions around what category you should enter and you need a little bit more explanation, again, please feel free to email us. We're happy to help you out. So the entry process is very simple. You'll log into the website and there'll be a button that says enter now. And that will take you to the entry portal where you will have to register yourself to get in. It is a new entry portal this year. We're really excited to use it. It's a lot nicer aesthetically and easier to use for everyone. So I do hope you enjoy it if you are a returning entrant. Once you've registered and you've made it into the entry portal, you will click on the category or categories that you're interested in submitting. And when you click on it, you'll see I'll get to what that screenshot will look like. But it'll have all of the information that you need to upload and fill in. In addition to filling in the questions that are asked, the 3 questions that we just reviewed, you are asked to upload 2 images. We need these to be high resolution images. So 1 team photo and then 1 high resolution logo, company logo. The team photo is our preferred image that we like to use in the award ceremony, in our graphics. And also, if you make it as a shortlist and a finalist, this is the photo that represents your company and represents your entry. You may also upload supporting materials. This is optional. And many people will use this to upload additional information or supporting material that strengthens your entry. So you're allowed to put as much or as little information as you'd like, but we do ask this to stick to 3 single sides of A4 pages. And then once you're ready to submit, you'll complete payments. That can be an invoice or credit card payment. If you do decide that you'd like to pay credit card at the last minute, we can send a secure online payment portal through to you. And so this is just a screenshot of what the entry portal will look like once you've registered. So once you've registered, you'll see this page on the left where it says categories. And so you'll select in the checkbox which category you'd like to submit or multiple. It'll then take you into, if you click on the little arrow, the down arrow, it'll show you a description. Again, this description is also the same that's listed in your entry kit. And then you'll click enter now. And then this is the entry submission page. So all the information that you'll have to enter and just basically a quick overview of what the format is for completing this information. So your organization name, your website, size of the organization, and that size of organization does link to the SME discount if you are SME qualified. The client name, now this is optional. So if you're a consultancy or if you're entering on behalf of your client, this is where you would put your client's name and they will be mentioned on the website when we announce you as a shortlist and or a winner. We also confirm this information with you once you are shortlisted. So if you do see any discrepancies or issues, again, please contact us should you make the shortlist. The project name is the name of your project that you are submitting. And then on the right side, you'll see entry questions. And this is what we reviewed earlier, is describing the 3 questions that you need to complete. And I think, yeah, so that's basically an overview of what you'll need. There are a few other questions that you'll have to fill out just for our purposes for the awards. But that is basically what the format will look like. So nice and easy. So a few hints and tips. Again, please read the rules for entry on page 2 of the entry kit, just to make sure that you are submitting for the right category and that your company does qualify for the category you'd like to enter. Sorry, if you can just go on mute. Thank you. Also, if you'd like to submit for more than one entry, just please make sure you're not copying and pasting the same entry into 4 different categories. For example, we do ask that you individualize the entry, just as there is different criteria for each category, and we do look for copy and pasted entries and do have, will disqualify an entry if we do see a copy and paste. We will get in touch with you if we do see that in some aspect. Demonstrate measurable results. The judges want to see how your results link to the objectives. So the more data and results and metrics that you can provide, the better. Please provide context to the project as well. So what did the project do for your organization? What was it meant to achieve? Did you achieve it? Are you in progress to achieve it? And then client involvement, if any. So if you are entering client work, please provide written consent from them. And then should you make it as a finalist in the panel judging, which I will go into further detail in a bit, we do ask that you invite your client along to present with you and provide their insight and ability to answer questions as well. So some frequently asked questions that we've gotten. So again, the supporting material that you can upload is optional. It should be 3 single-sided pages. But we do suggest that you keep the main narrative to the entry form. That is what the judges are judging and scoring against. We do encourage everyone to look at the supporting material, but the key data and information should be in the narrative in the entry form questions. Supporting material can be anything from graphics, supporting evidence, anything that you think really strengthens your entry and helps tell that story. What to include to achieve good results. Again, tell your story, your challenge, demonstrate success. Include anecdotes or endorsements if you don't have those metrics. Anything, again, that you think would really support and strengthen your entry. So one big question we get is what happens in the judging process and how are entries scored and how do we make the short list? So I'm hoping that going through this will give you a little bit more insight into that process. So once we close for entries, judging begins. And there are 2 stages. So the first stage is our judges will log in individually and review their category of entries, and they will score those 3 questions that we reviewed based on these marks. We then take the average score from each panel, from each category, and we have a methodology that we follow to make the short list. We also look at comments and scores from each judges to make sure that there is fair and transparent judging across. Then we have the panel judging, which is where you all come in should you make the short list. And this is what really defines a winner for the judges. So again, this will happen on the 2nd to the 4th of July. So please put this as a hold in your calendars if you haven't already, specifically for any representatives that you think would probably presenting your entry, just as a hold. It will only be 30 minutes on one of these 3 days that your presenters will be asked to present. So we'll give you your time slot and your judging day when the shortlist is announced. And then we follow up with several emails. If we haven't heard from you, we ask for everyone to confirm their date and time to make sure that everyone has received the information. We ask that all finalists join virtually over Zoom. So you'll join for 30 minutes. We ask that you join 10 minutes prior to your session to make sure that everyone's audio and video is working and that all presenters have found the right Zoom room. And we also ask that no more than 3 participants from your company present because it can become quite a lot of people in one Zoom room. So you'll have 15 minutes to present, and this can be in any form. It can be a PowerPoint, it can just be a discussion, it can just be showing images or a video. It's however you want to bring your story to life. So exactly after 15 minutes, we do have a timer going. So after 15 minutes, the judges will then lead the Q&A session, and following that, you'll then leave the Zoom room, and then you will be told if you are a winner at the awards ceremony. Again, the dates are final and they are category dependent, so we can't move categories around, but the times could be altered if you get in touch with us as soon as you learn that you are a shortlisted company. And we'll try our best to accommodate your desired time. The judges then at the end of the day determine who the winners are for each category. And if you would like feedback, so feedback was given to everyone if you were an entrant last year. We provided feedback following the award ceremony, and we will be doing that again this year. So if you'd like feedback, you will have to wait. So then you have a month or so to purchase tickets if you haven't already by the early bird deadline in anticipation of the awards ceremony. So I've just put it just quickly again what the awards will entail, but it is quite an incredible evening with a lot of very excited attendees, and it's just such a wonderful evening. Tickets will be available for purchase in May. So we'll put up those prices then and what the packages include. But we do have individual tickets for sale. CIPD members will get a different rate, as do SME students, and we have charity discounts as well. If you decide to purchase a table of 10, you do save 10% versus purchasing individual tickets. And if you purchase premium table, you have branding in the reception, you get prime table location by the stage. We do have limited availability on this just based on center stage location. You'll get branding on your table, upgraded dinner wine, and you get a professional photo of your table as well. So now we'll hear from from two of our judges, expert judges, Georgia Gamba-Quilliam and Rebecca Peters. And so I've seen a few questions come in on the chat box, so I will come to that following the questions that have been asked, and we'll read them out loud. And if you do have any other questions after that, feel free to keep putting them in the chat box, or you can come off of mute and ask your questions as they come up. But George and Rebecca, I'll let you both introduce yourself, and then I'll go into the next page, which lists the most popular questions we received from the registration survey. So thank you for those.
Shall I go first? So hi, I'm Georgia Gamba-Quilliam. I work at CIPD as Learning Content Manager, and I've been judging PM awards for a few years now. So hopefully I can answer most of your questions.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. I'm just a voice. Hi, everybody. Nice to be invited to chat to you all today. So I'm Rebecca Peters. I work in CIPD as a research advisor in the research team. And last year was actually the first year that I judged on the PMAs, despite joining CIPD back in 2019. So it was a real privilege to be involved and be at the event. So hoping I can share some experience from last year with you all.
Thank you both. Great. So if you want, we'll go through these questions. And then also, Rebecca and George, if you have any other insight that you'd like to provide from entries you've seen last year, please feel free to provide as much detail and explanation as you'd like. But we'll start with the first question. What are you looking for in the best entry, and what made last year's winners stand out to you?
Who do you want to go first? I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, go for it, Rebecca.
So the standout entry for us, and we offered a best winner, and a highly commended. So there was two that really stood out, but the one that won the category for us, which was the best talent management initiative, was the panel that I was judging on. This particular entry we found really showed kind of grit, determination in what they were doing, really good influencing skills as well, which led to some really radical changes in the organization that we're working in, despite the kind of quite bureaucratic background of that organization. So there was some real tenacity, I think, amongst the team, despite kind of a lot of challenges that they faced, particularly within the sort of recruitment, talent management area. They were also very considerate of the ED&I issues as well that came up, and that really stood out for us. And they had some really impressive success measures. I think that was mentioned earlier a couple of times. I think that's really, really critical. And I think some of the questions we'll talk a bit more about success measures, but that really demonstrated the kind of wider impact of that particular initiative. So it was stand out from that perspective. I would say overall, the kind of influencing skills that they were able to demonstrate actually showed quite a lot of change in practice. So we saw a lot of policy changed that was a direct result of the initiative that they were putting forward for this particular entry. So I think that was the kind of standout points that I had from last year, and what the other judges as well, who are experts in the field and in talent management, really sort of shone through for them.
Yeah, I agree with everything Rebecca said. I would add, I was judging the category of best HR and L&D supplier. And when it comes to supplier and client, and also consultancy and client, we look at a lot of that kind of the relationship. So obviously, for a supplier, they'll have one product or a few products, but they'll sell the same products to everybody. So the fact that they decide to enter with a specific client is about that relationship, and how that relationship with that particular product for that specific client brought about a lot of change. And so, yeah, seeing the change that made for the client, like Rebecca says, seeing the impact is really what we look at, saying the difference between sort of before and after that intervention, and what's changed, and what the impact on the company and on the employees. So yeah, that's what I would say we also look for. And in these categories where there's more than one person because of the client relationship, how that, how the supplier or the consultancy understood the needs of the client, and how that was taken on board, and how the two work together, and all the stakeholders were involved, are also the things that we kind of look at. I think we're coming later to the presentation stage, because there's a couple of things I wanted to add it on that as well.
I think since we're talking about what made last year's winner stand out, we could just jump to that last question I have. So during the panel judging stage, what makes a presentation stand out?
So I would agree. I think presentation style was a big one, and I made a few general kind of feedback notes on that, because I think that was quite stand out in a few of the entries. So we had some that were presented really, really well, and some that weren't so great because they felt so heavily scripted. And actually, the best presentations were just honest, very straight talking, taking out all the jargon, and all the kind of business speak. And actually, they kind of connected better with all the judges. We understood that what they were talking about. You've only got 15 minutes as well, and it is a hard stop. So I think really make best use of that 15 minutes. So stick to your main points, stick to the three areas that are in the questions of the entry. Those are where we're judging you on, and stick to your key takeaways, so that they are the take-home points for us, and we walk away thinking we know, we've got all our key points, and we know how to judge this particular entry. I'd say make sure you're prepared as well for the questions. That sounds like an obvious one, but we do, like I say, have a hard stop. So we will have 15 minutes of solid questions. And judges are really keen to get to the bottom of certain things, and we'll dig a little bit further in that 15 minutes where we haven't been able to perhaps see some of the things that we wanted demonstrated in the first 15 minutes of the presentation. So I'd say, whilst we're saying obviously don't make it too scripted, it is important you stick to your times. So I guess run-throughs in that respect is good, because otherwise you might miss some key information, or some people in some cases we didn't get round to speaking to them if there was, three in a group and they were taking it in turns to all have a bit of the spotlight. So I would just bear that in mind, and keep the kind of content light to 15 minutes. So I'd say there's some top tips on kind of presentation styles.
Yes, I mean, the one on timing is my number one tip as well. Do rehearse a lot, or how much is necessary, to make sure that you can fit what you really want to say in 15 minutes, and maybe save the rest for the questions, or put it in the entry, obviously. But it is really, I've also been the chair for a few years now, so I'm really the timekeeper, and I'm sorry to say I have no mercy on that one because I have no choice. We do hear about, it depends on the categories, I guess this can vary, but we can hear up to 6 presentations in a day. So it's a lot to take in, and we have no choice by really stopping people, and it is really not, it's not nice to stop people mid-flow and having to not let them, give them the chance to finish their presentation. So yeah, if you do spend time on one thing, spend it in making sure that you get your message across in those 15 minutes. I'd say the presentations that stand out for me are also the ones where people, the enthusiasm of people for what they've done and what they've achieved really shines through. You can just really tell in the first few minutes normally about this particular aspect. It's not obviously what we judge about. You don't have to be very super enthusiastic necessarily, and people express their enthusiasm in different ways, but you can really tell if people have, you know, have done something that they're proud of, and then they've seen the difference it's made and how they've been involved in it. So I would say maybe when you choose your panel to present, choose someone who's been really involved in the project that you put forward, then the people who know it inside out and are very familiar about talking about it and express it to people who don't know anything about it, and they, you know, they need to understand it in a very short period of time. But presentations do really bring to life the forms that are, you know, on paper or electronic, obviously, but, you know, the written forms really come to life with the presentation. So make the most of it, I would say.
And one question I think is relevant to this is, so small companies enter and big companies enter. How does a small business compete with a giant to win an award?
I think if it's okay, I'd like to step in here if that's okay, because it doesn't matter the size of the company. For us, it matters about the initiative. It matters on the work that's being done. It doesn't matter on the size of the company. Everybody is treated fairly and equally based on the clear methodology and the scoring of the awards. So it's all about the work for us. It's all about the initiative. I know, talking to the judges as well, it's all about the story that you tell both in your awards and your, you know, if you are shortlisted, in your presentations as well. So, you know, there's no, you know, just because you're a big company, you don't have the monopoly on good ideas or good initiative. You know, there are good people in every CIPD, that doesn't matter, and everybody's treated equally. So yeah, in terms of awards, if I can go slightly off piece, size definitely doesn't matter.
Yeah, can I just add something quickly as well? I think because, like we've already kind of touched upon, it's about impact. So you know, the impact is on your own organization. So it doesn't matter how big the organization is to start with. If it moves if what you've done moves your organization from A to B, it doesn't matter what the A was, that, you know, we don't compare the A point with an A point of a much bigger organization. It's kind of that journey that you've moved the organization towards that counts. So yeah, it really doesn't really matter at all.
I'll just add a final thing as well, just to agree with you again. I think we definitely kind of, in the entries that we had of both small and large businesses didn't have an advantage, as we said. And I think, you know, even with higher investments and things like that, that didn't necessarily mean it was judged better. In fact, one of the best entries in the category was actually had really high levels of impact, but a really minuscule budget, and had, like Georgia said, you know, the enthusiasm. They built the story. They really demonstrated the impact. So that far outweighed, I think, you know, versus a large company who had great investment, but we weren't seeing the same impact. We weren't hearing the same stories. So I think size, as you say, doesn't matter at all, and it is judged very fairly.
Great, thank you. And Matt, do you want to answer the question around whether they should enter the regional awards versus the national?
Yeah, so so this question came up. So the People Management Awards are global awards. We get awards from all over the world. So I know that one of the questions Angelina asked in the chat, can entries be from a non-UK based company? And that's absolutely right. So because it's a global awards, you get much more prestige, you know, in terms of entering. You know, if you are shortlisted, there is much, you know, you can get good traction, and we see this in terms of social media. It's great seeing the shortlisted companies being very proud of the fact that they're shortlisted, promoting that on social media, and that being really good for their brand. And, you know, and then at the awards ceremony themselves, and then, you know, if you are lucky to win, you know, your story does feature in CIPD's magazine, People Management magazine, and on our various different channels. So as you can imagine, entering this global awards is very good for your company and your brand. We do have regional awards currently in Wales and in Northern Ireland. Also in, if you are based in Ireland and in the Middle East. But they're what's called a market specific, that, you know, they're for the Irish market, or they're for the Welsh market, if you like. So they're much smaller in terms of award schemes. They're much smaller in terms of categories, and smaller therefore in terms of prestige. So it is. I'm not going to tell you which ones to enter. You know, you can enter as many as you want. It's entirely for your decision. But this is the CIPD's global awards. This is our showcase event. You know, it's been going. This is its 29th year now, so it has been very successful. And there's a reason why companies A, keep coming back, and then B, we're attracting new companies all the time. So so please, you know, go in, have a look at the entry kit. Do you know, bombard Monica and the team with questions, he says with a smile on his face, because, you know, we are really keen to find out about your stories, find out about your good work in the companies, you know, so that we can share best practice, so that, you know, because that is overall the point of the CIPD.
Thank you, Matt. And Georgia, I know you have to jump off in a few minutes. So we'll jump into the next two questions, which are more about results and data and evidence that entrants should include. So first question being, what level of data and analytics are needed to showcase the results of our schemes? What have you seen in the past that you'd recommend in terms of data?
Yeah, I was going to roll the two questions a little bit together, because it's really important to choose your time, I think. So if you enter the awards too early, you won't have enough data, I guess, to demonstrate the impact. I mean, the main answer, which is maybe slightly frustrating, is it depends. It really depends a lot on the initiative. So some initiatives might be designed to have a really quick impact, in which case, by all means, you know, you can enter quite soon after the initiative was set off. But then if it's set up that way, I would expect to see some data measuring the results then coming in through that short time frame as well. So if you're doing a big change project or something that you will only see the results because you want impact, I don't know, behavior change, things that take more time, then I would say maybe enter the following year when you have a bigger set of data to present. Now, in terms of the level of data, again, it's really depending on what you need to demonstrate. Whatever success measures you set up when you set up for your initiative, that would be what we look at. And it doesn't have to be necessarily numbers. You know, obviously, if you set up to like cost cutting or you know, increase revenues, whatever it might be, that it's a numerical measurement, yes, we do need to see the numbers, but it could be supported by stories, by anecdotes. If it's Rebecca earlier mentioned some new policies adopted as a result of something, so that could be a measure. Certainly behavior change in how teams works, or different directions that the organization has taken. yeah, it's really like really broad, but it has to be concrete. I would say that something that is specific, that it's really clear and that is causally related. So, you know, sometimes you have why the initiative was taken tells you one story, and then the results and the data used to demonstrate the success tell you a different story. So I would say make sure that these two are related. So if you do something for a specific reason, then the results and the data that you use need to demonstrate that that specific reason that you stated in question number 1 is correlated to that. And it's not just correlated, but there is also a causation there, so that you can demonstrate that, you know, what you did cause this specific result. I would say that sometimes I've had lots of data in question 3, but I couldn't see the connection to how that data was linked to the initiative and how the initiative was linked to the reason for having it. So the story that runs through is very important, and that will dictate what data you put forward, because it will be the one that best demonstrates that you've achieved your success measures.
I
Dr.
think
Jane?
yeah, I think Georgie has covered pretty much most of the things that I was going to mention. Really good, valid points. I think you can have both the qualitative, quantitative stuff. So, you know, if there's other feedback or, you know, evaluation that you've done, that's also really useful for us to hear. I think it's not enough to just share an initiative that's been implemented. We do need to hear about the impact, the change, the measures, how it's being evaluated, how it might be being refined as well moving forward. I think that's really, really important for the judges to really make a kind of clear decision on the value of the initiative. One thing I would just add is if you don't have all this, you know, some of the success measures, I would also say be honest as well, because I think you will get caught out in that 15 minutes. The judges will ask you, they will interrogate. So, you know, if it is more of the kind of anecdotal feedback of you're quite early on in that evaluation process, I think be honest about that, because if you try to say there are certain measures and they don't stack up, the judges will lose more faith in that entry. So I think be honest, and yeah, just sort of really explain where you are in terms of success measures and impact.
Great.
Yeah, can I ask, if you want, I can take Em's question in the chat as well. So she's asking how questions are positioned during the judging. So it's not really competency style approach. It is a follow-up to the presentation. So once obviously we first read the entries and we make notes on that, then the presentation should add more detail and clarify and bring that to life. And then the questions will kind of clarify any gaps that still remaining. If something is not clear, if we would like to know more, then that's the kind of things that we ask in after the presentation. And one general tips that I wanted to mention, and I haven't yet, is be mindful of how you write your entries in terms of the language and the jargon that you use. Rebecca touched on this as well, but there was a very interesting and a little bit funny post on LinkedIn not long ago about acronyms and how the same acronym means so many different things to people working in different industries and sectors. So yes, you'll be used in your, you'll be so used to those acronyms and become second nature. And we're so, guilty of it here at CIPD as well. But, it won't mean the same, and it will be difficult for us to exactly understand what you are talking about. So I would spend some time in making the language as plain as possible and explain every acronym if you need to use them and anything like that. It would really help.
Thank you, Georgia. I know you have to hop off, but we'll go through the rest of the questions in the chat box unless, Georgia, you have anything else you'd like to say before you depart? No, I'm sorry I have to leave a little bit earlier, but yeah, if there's any further question, Monica, feel free to send it my way, and then you can maybe share it back to the people. Happy to pick that up on emails. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good luck. So we'll go through the questions in the chat box, and if you have anything else, please feel free to add it or come off of mute and ask. So let's see. So I'll start from the most recent. Do you expect presentations to have the same info in them as entry forms? So we expect the presentations to be a little bit more informative and have a little bit more detail. So it shouldn't just be a copy and paste, because the judges all have your online entry in front of them, and they have their comments and questions. So if anything, it'll be highlighting additional information that you weren't able to include in your initial entry. And Matt and Rebecca, feel free to jump in and add anything else if I'm missing something. If there is something that's commercially sensitive or confident, so everything is judges' eyes only. Once you've submitted your entry, we never publish an entry to the public. But if there is something that you'd like to remain confidential, you can put confidential in big text on that page, or under, on your supporting material, you can put confidential under there.
That's come up that comes up every year as well, and it's a really good question. And yeah, just to emphasize that as well, if there are sensitive elements to your story, then then obviously it is eyes only, but also do think about how critical those sensitive elements are to your entry. If it's something that if it's something you're wanting judges to base the entry around and to judge it on, then thinking about if you get to the shortlisting stage, and then if you want to share, and if you win and you share your story, just think about how you want us to manage that stage of the process. As ever, if there are any questions, please highlight it in your entry. Monica and the team will get in touch.
Let's see, the CSR ESG initiative, would the client be the charity that we support? Matt, I'm going to let you jump in here.
So based on what you've said there, I would say yes. But again, what you can do is, again, just drop us a note with your specific issues. But if it's work that you've done, if it's an initiative you've done on behalf of that charity, it's paid work that the charity's paid you to do, then yes.
Can you enter a category with multiple initiatives linked to that category rather than a specific initiative? Matt, do you understand the question?
Yeah, so I read this question, and if you are online and you want to put your hand up, we can talk it through. But I read this question that essentially you wanted to enter several initiatives for the same category in the same entry, and so the answer would be no. What we strongly recommend is that you just submit the one initiative for the one category. Because otherwise, it's highly unlikely that you'll get a high score and go past filter judging, because we won't know which initiative, or the judges won't know which initiative they are marking and which won't be. So if all the initiatives are part of one project, one overarching project, that's maybe slightly different. But yeah, if they're all sorts of different projects around, let's say, employee voice, then I would actually say no. But yeah, if you want to drop the team a note on the awards email with your specific case, but hopefully that answers your question.
Another question. Let's see.
There was sorry, Monica, there was a good question in the chat about how many typically how many entries do we shortlist, and that goes back to the methodology and around the scoring system and the integrity of the awards, and it's something that I've only been with the company for a couple of years now that I've been really impressed by, certainly comparing it by other awards. It is very much, you know, dependent on the quality of the entries. So obviously the shortlist isn't going to get into double digits, but you know, based on the judges' scoring, you know, if the caliber of entries in a certain category is very high, then obviously the shortlist will be longer. We judge all in one day, so a shortlist won't be any longer than about 7 or 8 per category. And probably a minimum of 3, I would suggest. But again, it is very dependent on that scoring and methodology. So each year, the numbers slightly vary.
Thank you. Someone asked a question about supporting material. Is there an option to upload videos on the initiatives we're highlighting in our submission? So no, we do not have a video upload. However, if you would like to highlight some videos that, again, further support your entry, feel free to include the URL. If it is password sensitive, include the password in it, and you can include that in one of your supporting material pages that you upload.
The reason sorry, Monica, the reason why we do that is obviously certain companies don't have a very high media budget. So again, we think that if you can do a succinct, you know, 10, 30-second video, then you know, you can put that in an entry in written form.
Another good question. Can this entry be done in phases and progress saved, or is it best to submit in one go when ready to submit? So I actually encourage everyone to log into the entry portal, click on the categories, and just take a look at what you'll need to upload and what the format is. But you can do it in phases, and you can save it and come back and go in up until the standard deadline. So if you submit something, or if you're almost ready to submit and you need to come back and amend it, you can do that. So yes, you can do it in phases.
We have a hand up from Michael Roxon, and I can see he's put a comment in. I don't know whether we want to let him off mute, and away he goes.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hiya, thank you. It's just a really quick question from me. How does it work if it's a joint approach? Because when you were going through the slides, looking at the entry portal, it basically said enter your organization, which would obviously be the company that is going for the award. But what about if there's 2 companies working together to go for the award?
That is a great question. And we would, so in the project name, you would put both of your companies. So you would list exactly, so how you display your project name is how we will announce it as the shortlist, and on the night. And you can upload both of the company logos. And if you're having issues with that, email us and we'll make sure that you can facilitate that. But yes, you can put both company names in the project name.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And well done for being brave enough to put your hand up and come off mute.
I think we've answered most of them. The dinner tickets. So dinner tickets with early bird. So the standard individual ticket is $480. And if you want table of 10, that is goes up to that is $435. So it does vary with the early bird versus standard, but we do have a discount if you purchase it earlier. But early individual tickets start at $430 with the early bird, and that doesn't include the membership rate or an SME. So you'll just have to check back on the website. It's a lot of pricing to go through right now, but please check the website and it'll be displayed very nicely.
Yeah, just to re-emphasize though, that comes after the shortlist has been announced, so that's only for shortlisted companies. I know that seems like a common sense, an obvious thing to say, but also I wouldn't, you know, that's a long way down the line. You know, obviously we haven't opened sales up for those yet, so please, you know, do think ahead. Just concentrate on your award entry would I think be our universal advice at the minute, and then hopefully get to that short list, and only then can you think about dinner sales.
Matt, do you want to address the last two questions?
Yes, and we have a hand up as well by Mariana. So I'll address the last two questions, and then are there any discounts for public sectors? And then if you are a provider of CIPD qualifications, does that make you a CIPD member? So that latter question, Michael, is a very good question. So if you want to drop us a specific email on that, I don't want to mislead you. Normally, it is just for people that, you know, pay their subscriptions and have a CIPD membership number, rather than a CIPD provider of goods or services, or a contractor. So there is a clear distinction, again, for transparency. But yeah, just in case I haven't got the full gist of your question, then yeah, do feel free to drop us an email. In terms of the discount for public sectors, it is as Monica said before, the SME discount. So if your organisation is below the limit of, I want to say 215, but I know, Monica, you're going to. It was, wow.
50.
So yeah, so if your organization is below 215, then yes, you are eligible for the discount. But if you're over that limit, then no, there aren't any other discounts, I'm afraid. It is a subject that we have been going back and forth on as a company, but yeah, we do want to treat everybody fairly. Okay, I think Mariana, you've got your hand up.
I do. Hi. I was just wondering, yeah, I did put it in there. I'm not sure you saw it, but if we're interested in entering for the Best CSR ESG initiative, does a charity partnership count as an initiative? Is that what that means, or is it an initiative within that partnership? Or would it just be the whole thing?
So definitely a charity partnership, yes, can count. So as Monica said, you can merge the two if there is a sort of client transaction, as it were. Then yeah, you can put that would count probably as one initiative. Again, if you wanted to give us a top line summary and not go into it, if you didn't want to go into it, give us specific details on the call, we could clarify again. But yeah, from what the sounds of it, the initiative with the charity partnership would count.
So anything that we've done within that partnership, then
yeah, okay, exactly.
Got it.
Just one, yeah, but just one, as I say, but just one piece of work, one initiative, not several or bundled together, so that we can the judges can properly evaluate the success of that specific initiative or project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, it's 5 o'clock. So I will conclude the webinar. If you do have any other outstanding questions, or we didn't get to answer yours, please feel free to email the inbox and we'll get back to you within 48 hours. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will send through this webinar after we end today. And we look forward to seeing your entries come in.
Thank you very much.